For me, Riley, it has to be 2016 Chris Jenkins buzzer beater to beat North Carolina with Michael Jordan in attendance. For me, I'm not a fan of those two teams, but you could not have written a better storybook ending for that March Madness. Both #1 seeds that year, and Chris Jenkins hits it right as time expires in Jim Nantz on the Call, one of my favorites, to get the job done. That's what made me fall in love with not only the storytelling of sports, but the commentary of sports. Absolutely perfect. Listen, this was so tough because I'm a big football, baseball, basketball guy, and there's so many great moments, but I had to narrow it down for the show, so I have a couple. For baseball, for me, Barry Bonds breaking Hank Aaron's all-time home run record in 2007, 756 home runs. I don't know if that will ever be topped. You can talk about some of the controversy later in his career when it was revealed that he was taking some performance-enhancing drugs. For me, I love Barry Bonds. You can't replace that moment at Oracle Park.
It's still captivated the whole nation,
absolutely,
though, that race.
Right?
Absolutely.
For basketball, I think these are my easiest two picks. I had LeBron James, the block 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. Yes, Mike bringing on the call for that one of my favorites. Listen, talk about just sheer will. He was all the way back in the corner. He runs down. I don't think Cleveland wins, obviously, if that block isn't made. It solidified LeBron's legacy and made him even bigger than we know today.
I look at this team, though. I look at, honestly, the most positive, I think, part for Mike Woodson is how much his returning and production has improved. Malik Renew looks very, very smooth. He runs the floor very well. He's efficient with his shooting. And then, as you mentioned, Mackenzie Mbako with a breakout game, 31 points. I mentioned this to you in our pre-meeting. He shoots the ball with insane confidence. He does. He feels like he's the most confident player on Indiana's roster right now. When he lets it fly, he thinks it's going to go in every time. And that confidence, I think, has bred a little bit of improvement into his game. Now, it doesn't matter about the number. Where does he go, right? Listen, I've always been a hard believer that I thought Juan Soto was going to stay with the Yankees. And I'm still a believer in that. Despite the comments after the World Series loss, him saying that he's available to all 30 teams, I thought that was more of a ploy from his agent, Scott Boras, to drive that number up a little bit, maybe north of $600 million. But at the end of the day, I think the Rays already called him, which is surprising to say the least. But I think Juan Soto is going to end up with the Yankees. There's going to be a ton of suitors. This is going to take, as you mentioned, a lot more time than people.
It'll take a while
than people think it's going to. But I think that at the end of the day, I think Hal Steinbrenner knows what they have in Juan Soto, and they don't want to give it up. And especially, they don't want to see him go to the Mets or Dodgers, which would just add salt in the wounds. The schemes seem not only hard to be adjusted to at the college level, but also a little outdated.
Yeah.
And I talked to you about this earlier, especially on the offensive end. IU, and to Mike Woodson's credit, they've tried to get out and transition more this year. You saw it against Louisville a little bit and Gonzaga, especially with Miles Rice trying to push the tempo. But when they have to play half-court offense, it's so hard to watch, not only as a fan, but as someone who considers themselves, appreciating the game of basketball and kind of the pace that it can be played at. It is so slow. I mean, we have, unfortunately, and I think it's not a product of the players. I have to say, I think it's a product of the system. A lot of ball watching. A lot of ball watching. I don't see a lot of cuts to the rim. I don't see a lot of quick backdoor cuts. I don't see a lot of quick ball movement. There's no pace in that half-court set at all.